What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations.
Something's got to separate you from the rest. So you got to be willing to do whatever.
In my experience, black men have struggles like having community with each other.
But she represents the mammy stereotype.
Now that was epic. I needed that. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that movement, the team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And I'd like to say thank you for taking time, whether you're watching live on the replay, to check this out. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show. Having challenges with this tonight. Okay, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm on, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the vibe@SXSW.com. And then, cannot forget our good friend, Dr. Tachi, driving force behind a platform called Indie Soup TV, independent content creators platform that she's been running for about 2.5 years, over 28,000 YouTube subscribers. That's correct. 28,000 YouTube subscribers, which puts that YouTube channel in the top 4% of all YouTube channels when it comes to subscribers. And I'm blessed to be contributing to the content on that platform. Also, I'm a member of the advisory board. All right. And don't many times I get a chance to do the Dr. Vibe show, but we have a wonderful conversation with a longtime friend who jumped out to me a few days ago and said, Dr. Vibe, can I get on this show to chat about this story? So before we introduce him, or should we introduce him first and then introduce the topic? What should we do first? Should we introduce him? Okay, let's introduce him and then we're going to get into topics. So welcome to the stage, LeRon L. Barton, who's been, it's been a minute and
it's been a while.
We had some technical challenges making this happen, but we are here. We are here. And LeRon L. Barton, what is going on? Or what we say, what go on?
Man, listen, like, first off, we had a couple technical challenges, but you know what, like, with God on our side, there's nothing that we cannot accomplish. Dr. Bob, thank you for allowing me to be on the show, man. I really appreciate it. This was something that I just felt like that I needed to come on. I needed to talk to you about, and there's just a lot of foolishness going on. So I was like, you know what, 2026, I'm back. So I wanted to return to the place that I got my podcast started on, which is almost 10 years ago, which is on this platform. So
wow,
it's
10
years,
years,
full circle, my brother. Yes, absolutely. 2016. So for those who don't know, Dr. Vibe had a show called Do You Know What Time It Is? It was a round table of black men where we would opine, in Dr. Vibe's words, on just like 3 or 4 different topics, and it was just brothers from all across the world. And just it's so funny, like, just a lot of my confidence, just a lot of who I am today was built on being on that show. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Oh, well, no problem. You always have a home here. So when you reach out, I'm here for you. And that I'm trying diligently to have a reunion of that show. So I'll keep you up to date.
That'll be crazy.
Yeah, because we haven't done that show for a few years, and I reached out. So one of my goals this year is to have a Do You Know What Time It Is reunion with Henri Morris, Jonathan Juiceman Shaw, Clive Henry from Nottingham, England.
That'll be crazy.
Victory Unlimited from I can't remember his city, but the home of ribs. I can't remember. And then there was Iron Mike Ramey. cannot forget Iron Mike Ramey.
Not at all.
Before we get into our conversation, give a little background about yourself. You've been doing a lot of stuff since since today. So give a little background on yourself.
So my name is LeRon Barton. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, on the West Coast at the moment. I'm a writer, author, speaker. I'm a twice published author. First book was called Straight Dope, a 360-degree look into American drug culture. Second book was called All We Really Need Is Love, Stories of Dating, Relationships, Heartbreak, and Marriage. I'm a writer, an essayist. I've written for Black Enterprise, Newsweek, Harvard Business Review, Salon, Slate, Raconteur, Good Men Project. And I'm also a speaker. I talk about race, mass incarceration, politics, business, and tech, and the importance of storytelling. I'm a 4-time TEDx speaker. I've given talks at UMass-Amhurst, UCSF, USF, Lockton, Ring, Electronic Arts, South by Southwest, Oxford. I mean, so I've been kind of doing my thing. And at the moment, Dr. Vibe, I'm really focusing a lot on helping the formerly incarcerated become more acclimated into society, as well as, still trying to practice an immense amount of Black self-respect and just, trying to encourage people to tell their story, because that's how the world becomes more open,
Love that. And you've also done stuff for Oxford too.
100%. Partnered with Oxford Talks, was able to give a talk at the Oxford Student Union. That was one of my dreams. It's funny. It's like, three of my heroes have spoken there. Albert Einstein, Malala Yousafzai, and of course the great Malcolm X. So I don't know if I can stand next to them people, but it was an amazing experience. And so looking to just really just go full mode this year. A lot of things are happening.
Okay. Good stuff. So what we're going to do is, should we take a break or should we get right into it? What do you want to do, LeRon?
Let's just go.
Okay. All right. So let's just go. All right. What we're going to do to introduce the topic, that we got a short little video just to give a little background on it. So we're going to show a short little video, and we're going to be back, I'd say, in about 2 minutes, but this video will give a little background on our conversation topic tonight. So here we go.
Great.
What was supposed to be a night celebrating Black excellence in film turned into something deeply disturbing. Michael B. Jordan and veteran actor Delroy Lindo were reportedly subjected to a racial slur at the 2026 BAFTA Awards in London, and the fallout has set the entertainment world on fire. Let's start with what we know. During the ceremony, both actors were in attendance to present an award together. According to multiple witnesses, while they were backstage, someone within earshot directed a racial slur toward them. The comment wasn't just overheard by onlookers. Both men immediately reacted with visible shock and anger. Security was reportedly called, and BAFTA organizers quickly intervened. A statement from the British Academy later described the incident as completely unacceptable, promising a full internal investigation. Still, many online are saying that's not nearly enough. Social media exploded within hours. Celebrities like Viola Davis, Idris Elba, and Ava DuVernay expressed public support for Jordan and Lindo, calling the incident another reminder of how racism doesn't disappear just because the setting looks elegant. Some journalists covering the BAFTAs pointed out that this isn't an isolated event. There have been ongoing criticisms about racial bias in British award shows, from lack of representation in nominations to cultural blind spots in how Black artists are treated when they're in those spaces. Many viewers are now demanding BAFTA reveal whether the person responsible has been identified and what concrete steps they'll take beyond press statements. For Michael B. Jordan, who's built a career championing meaningful Black stories, and for Delroy Lindo, a legend whose work spans decades, the insult wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. It shows that prestige spaces can still carry the same ignorance that Black artists have fought against for generations. This moment forces a bigger questions. How do we hold institutions accountable when diversity is celebrated publicly but disrespected privately. Does this incident expose a deeper problem in Hollywood's international circles, or is it simply another reminder that racism doesn't wear a dress code?
All right. So a little bit of background on our conversation topic this evening is talking about Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo face racial slur at the BAFTA's full breakdown. And in the video there, it says alleged the person has been identified, but we'll get into more of that during the conversation tonight. So, LeRon, my first conversation piece to you is, how do you feel that BAFTA and BBC have handled this with regards to edits, apologies, and has it been enough?
I think it's just been poor, to say the least, man. I mean, I feel like there's just a lot of failures all around. You know, before I get to John Davidson, let's just kind of focus on BAFTAs and the BBC. You know, I've been online about it for like the past 3 days, right? And I heard from a sister from the UK. She said BAFTA stands for British Arts. Africans get the F out of here, something like that. And it just kind of goes to show you just like how much of an afterthought, Black people are. I mean, first off, this gentleman, he blurts it out not once, not twice, but 3 times. They have a microphone around him, which I'm just like, why? It's almost like that, they were kind of looking for like a gotcha moment. When it happens, and I'm gonna get to, the brothers that had to experience that. When it happened, Alan Cumming, a queer white man, goes on stage and is like, I'm sorry for anyone who was offended. This was very strong, very, very strong language. Please have some compassion. And I was just like, wow, like it's almost like, let's not worry about the fact that this man said a racial slur, right? Let's not worry about the fact that he said the most dehumanizing thing to Black people possible. This white man is asking people to have compassion and sorry if you are offended. What Black person would not be offended, fam? First off. Secondly, I'm trying to figure out, that was such a bad apology. And, third, there was a young man who was on stage that said Free Palestine. They were able to edit that out, right? But they didn't edit out the N-word. And so, thinking about it for like the past couple of days, reading people's opinions and thoughts and viewpoints, I've come to terms with the fact that BAFTA just wanted some type of a viral moment. And, it not only made John Davidson look like a racist, and we'll get to that, but it was at the expense of Black people, not only the 2 gentlemen that were on stage, but there was also a Black woman that he called the N-word. So in addition to the Black people who were in the crowd, those 3, they're not the only victims, Dr. Bob. We're all the victims, because I believe that, I believe that in community, right? So if one Black person is harmed, we're all harmed. And I just felt the way that they handled that, it was incredibly bad. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, I know that the US has their problems with race. I mean, the United States is a very racist country, but Britain and the UK, it's almost like, oh, you know what? Let's just sweep it under the rug. But the thing is like, and this is no disrespect to the brothers and sisters in the UK, but this happened to some Black Americans, and we were just like, nah, we're not gonna let this rise. So I don't think that they were ready for that backlash.
Understood. Let me ask, you've written on racism.
Absolutely.
Does this feel like an isolated tick or part of a larger patterns in the entertainment space?
Look, from what I've been reading and from what I've been told about the BAFTAs, right? And I'll stick with the BAFTAs for a second. There's been years where no Black people have been nominated, right? You know, when we look at race, nothing ever happens out of a vacuum, right? So this is something, this is just sort of building on something, you know what I mean? Like, this is a pattern. You know, I remember, Dr. Tommy Curry, author of The Man Not Your Friend and Mine, he talks about how there's no such thing as ignorance of racism, because these acts, these sort of incidents have been happening since we've been in America, since Black people have been in the UK. So this is just not a one-off. This happens all the time. Like, this is the way, for the most part, white people interact with Black people. And so just the reaction of John Davidson's words, like, it's one thing for John Davidson to say that, right? And, listen, I'm not going to front. I don't have a lot of knowledge on Tourette's, right? But I find it very funny that he only says the N-word around Black folks. He didn't say it when he saw white people, right? I mean, that's what kind of boggles my mind. And he has a specific condition. Cool, understand that. But that still doesn't take away the harm that he's caused. And that's what the BBC and the BAFTAs have been trying to do, is like, they've been trying to protect this man. And we're like, no, like, you can't say that word 3 times and expect us to be like, oh, that's just John. That's just his Tourette's. Nah, man, F that. We're not going for that.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and we're going to get deeper into the conversation. We're hanging out with LeRon L. Barton. We're talking about Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo face racial slur at the BAFTAs, full breakdown. So we will be back in 30 seconds.
College Black Men Can Talk live on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, where Dr. Vibe, Kofi Sadat, and Kofi Morris come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community from a Black Canadian man point of view.
Watch Primetime Saturdays on Saturdays 5 p.m. Eastern, where Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lala Key try to make sense of the nonsense in American politics and culture.
All right, we're back with LeRon L. Barton. Let's continue the conversation. So let me ask, as stars like Jordan and Lindo rise, why do these public humiliations keep happening at high profile events?
Well, let's look at like Michael B. Jordan. You know what I mean? He's a superstar, right? But let's kind of focus on Delroy Lindo for a second. Mr. Lindo is in his 70s. A lot of people don't know, but he comes from the UK. You know what I mean? He's a British Jamaican. I don't know how they word it over there, but he has Jamaican ancestry, right? You know what I mean? He's from, you know what I'm saying? He's from the UK. So just imagine a brother who has been grinding for a long time, realizes that there are no roles in the UK, because one of the reasons why so many Black actors from the UK come over to the United States is because there's more opportunities for them. See, people talk about, oh, the United States is so racist, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, listen, like the United States is a very racist country, but it seems that with the UK, there's just not a lot of opportunities for Black folks to just kind of move and groove. Like, they're even more stifled than the United States. And I've been to London a few times. Now, Mr. Lindo comes over to the States. I remember the first time I seen him, he was West Indian Archie in Malcolm X. That was in 1992, right? He's been in Clockers, Crooklyn. He's been on television shows. You know, Delroy Lindo's been doing this thing for a long time. So in his 70s, the brother gets an Academy Award nomination for being in Sinners. If you haven't seen Sinners, Sinners is an amazing film. It's truly a film about Black American life, right? So he gets this Academy Award nomination, goes back home to where he is from, right? And he's at the BAFTAs, an institution that just denies Black folks. So he's there to present an award alongside his co-star, who is one of the hottest actors in the world, and he is disrespected and called the N-word. Like, you can't, I mean, you can't write a sadder story than that, Dr. Bob. So you ask, why do these things keep happening? Well, because there's no respect, there's no compassion for Black folks. See, we're always going to be considered a second-class citizen. You know what I mean? It's like what Malcolm X said. Like, you know, what do you call a Black person with a PhD? You call him a nigger. So it doesn't matter like how high we climb. There's always going to be a point where we're going to be reminded of who we are and where we come from. You know, when that happened, and, you know, when I read about it, I didn't watch the video because I just don't need that in my spirit, right? But when I read about it happening and those two brothers happened to stand on stage and just take it, it broke my heart. Because it's like, you're at the top of your game and you're still being disrespected. And then on top of that, you know, many people in the UK want you to understand. And if you get mad, you're not the victim. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's like the gaslighting is real. So yeah, I mean, it's another reminder that we'll never make it, right? It's like there is a saying where I come from. It's like you know, they only let in one at a time, right? And, you know, if you act up, if you break bad, then, you know, you're not going to be let in. Like, you know, I was watching a video from a brother from the UK. Can't remember his name, but real thorough, practicing Black self-respect. He said that if it was him, he would have left the stage. And I'm like, I totally agree with that. But again, those brothers they were in a lose-lose situation, Dr. Bob. You know, because they can't make a ruckus because then white people are gonna say like, oh my God, I was threatened. Oh my God, they're beating up on a man with a disability. They're so dangerous. So they had to pose with some dignity. And listen, I wrote an essay for the Good Men Project. It just got published today. It's called Grin and Bear It, right? And it talks about the incident. I think that every Black person, there's a time where you hear a racist joke where you are a victim of something like that, and it's like you have a choice. You either have to say to yourself, all right, you know, I'm gonna break bad. I'm gonna let these people know that they wrong, or you gotta grin and bear it. My friend Alicia, a long time ago, we had a conversation and about this thing, and she called it the negotiation, right? Every Black person is put in this position sooner or later, and you have to negotiate with yourself and ask yourself, okay, is this worth fighting for? Can I let this slide, right? And so you have to negotiate with yourself. Which move do you make? Now, I would have left the stage. Like, I'm not going to be disrespected like that. Like Michael B. Jordan's parents cried. I mean, and that's going to be a part of his career. That's going to be a part of Delroy Lindo's career. Like, he's back home and he still can't escape the racism, and he made it. Like, you know, the saddest story we'll hear for the next couple weeks until something else happens.
Just want to inform you, if you want to check out LeRon, his website is there, LeRonBarton.com. There's his LinkedIn handle, also his Instagram, and on most of the platforms you're watching this live or replay, that information is
That's
in
right.
the comment section. So, and we also have a comment. C Nurse K says, good evening. Although I am not surprised they chose not to edit the slur, it is disheartening that the BAFTA representatives still have not reached out to apologize to the presenters.
No, so shout out to the person that made the comment. So you know what's wild, right? So like I said, I've been online. Like I don't mess with Twitter because I don't support white supremacy. Like, I have to choose not to do that. But like, I've been on Threads, right? And what's crazy, Dr. Vibe, is just like how many people from the UK and just how many white people in general are just committed to defending John Davidson's right to say this, saying that, he can't control it. And not only that, but telling Black people you should not be offended. Like, I'm just like, I've never seen anything quite like this. And unfortunately, there's been Black folks, some across the pond, who have been agreeing with him. There's been some disabled Black people here saying like, oh, you guys are ableist. I've been called an ableist, see you next Tuesday, right? I mean, I've been called all kinds of names. And for me, the BAFTAs and BBC should apologize, but we can't take the onus off of John Davidson. I'm sorry, like, Buddy, when he said it, it took him a couple days to apologize. Like, I read his interview with Variety, right? And I'm reading it, and he's explaining what happened. And he did say, "Oh, in the interview, the writer wrote that he was going to reach out to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, as well as the woman, I believe her name is Hannah. Can't remember her last name, but she was the costume designer who was also called the N-word. But throughout none of the interview was he like, listen, I understand that what I said was so harmful and I am so sorry. It was none of that. It was pretty much like, you have to understand, I can't control this. Well, there's a concept, Dr. Bob, that I learned a long time ago. It's called impact trumps intent, right? Mr. Davidson may have not intended to call Black people that, but that does not lessen the impact of the injury. If you're driving, you hit a left turn and you crash into me, you could be like, oh my God, I didn't mean to crash into you, Dr. Bob. I'm sorry. I thought that I could make that light, but I crashed into you. And you're like, okay, I know you didn't mean it, but my car's still damaged. You know what I'm saying? Like, so people can say, oh, his intent was not there. Like, I don't care about that. I don't give an F about intent. It still happened.
Okay, good stuff. And in the house, Dr. Tachi is in the house saying good evening. Good to have you. And one of the people I lean into when it comes to media is Dr. Tachi. I'm sure she'll have some comments to share with us. I want to ask you, LeRon, have you faced or witnessed similar slurs or microaggressions in your speaking career? How did it affect your confidence in storytelling?
So, because I have a stutter, I'm always mindful of how I talk, right? I have to really pick my words very, very carefully. I mean, if you talk to me at a length of time, you can tell that I have a stutter, right? But the only time that it's ever came up was I was doing a talk with forget the county. I think it was Sunnyvale. It's a city in the Bay Area, and I was talking about race, and this older Asian gentleman, he was like, "Well, I don't believe what you're saying. People people should obey the law and, these things and this and that. And so he was essentially saying that, I was over exaggerating racism and my experience. And that's always going to happen, right? People will never truly believe Black people's experiences, because to believe that and to admit that is to admit that the world is racist and that the system is broken. So this is why people tend to look to outliers. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, they're outliers. Like in the city of Boston, Massachusetts, there was a study done by the Spotlight team, Boston Globe, institution that I have a lot of love and respect for. They did a series years ago called Black in Boston, right? And they, through their research and studies, they found that the average Black family is worth about $8. So you can have one Black person that is worth $1 billion. From what I hear, Tiger Woods is a billionaire, but the vast majority of us don't have even close to that. So there's always going to be people that will always try to find a way to misprove and not believe what I say when it comes to race, because I don't paint a very pretty picture. My job is not to give you sunshine. My job is to present to you the facts. It is up to you to believe them or not. But everything that I talk about, Dr. Vibe, is thoroughly researched, because I don't want my arguments to have holes in them. And unfortunately, when I talk about race in America, specifically the experience of Black people in America, it's very grim. That's just what it is.
Okay. If you were advising Jordan and Lindo privately, what would you say to them about processing something like this in front of the world?
So I wrote in my piece that by some miracle, I've never been called the N-word. It's just never happened. I mean, I think I'll probably be doing time. I'm just keeping it real. Listen, like I don't think that I would have self-control there. If I could tell them anything, I would tell them never to come back to the BAFTAs. You know what I mean? I would tell Mr. Lindo that, listen, you've done incredible work. This is why you left, my brother. You know what I mean? Like, we have to go where we're celebrated. I think that a lot of Black people want to force they want to force themselves into places that don't want us, don't respect us, and will never see us as whole. I remember it was like 4 or 5 years ago, Nicole Hannah-Jones wrote an essay about how she was denied tenure. I believe it was at North Carolina, Chapel Hill, some university like that. And she was like, you know what? We have to stop trying to prove that we belong. Like, we're fighting so much to get in somewhere that it's like, why? Like, let me say so. I'll tell you a story. I was in Manhattan exercising with my dad one day, and if anyone's ever been in Manhattan, it could be pretty swanky, right? So we're at this gym, and I had been to Manhattan maybe a couple times, but I still had this sort of imposter syndrome. When I would walk into places, I'd be like, damn, I feel country. And so, I'm asking, we're both on the exercise bike, and I'm asking him, I'm like, man, do you ever feel like you don't belong? And he said, no, because I know what I did to get here. I know the work that I put in. I am just as good as anyone else. And I'm not going to front and say that after that, I was cured of my imposter syndrome, but I never forgot that. And now today, I know that I'm just as good as anyone else because I look at the highlight reel. You know what I mean? But just besides everything that I've done, all the cool things, Dr. Vibe, I know the work that I put in, and I know that I'm just as good as anyone else. So when it comes to places like the BAFTAs, the Oscars, the Grammys, that just historically shit on Black people, I would, excuse my language, I would just say, to quote Ice Cube, who are they to be equal to? You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I don't need to prove nothing to you. I'm just as good. I don't need to be breaking my neck to try to join some club that y'all never wanted me in. And I'm definitely not gonna be tokenized. So yeah, that's what it is.
All right. So do you think the calm way that they handled it on stage helps or hurts the conversation about racism in elite spaces?
So I think that I couldn't have handled it like that, right? My name is LeRon Barton. I'm not Michael B. Jordan. I'm not Delroy Lindo. I couldn't have handled it like that because that is just an incredible amount of disrespect. I feel like that in post Will Smith smacking Chris Rock, I think people are waiting for Black folks to break bad like that again. And when you're faced with a situation like that, Dr. Vibe, sometimes it's shock because again, he said it multiple times, right? So you're like, first you're probably like, did I hear that? You're like, nah, come on. That there's no way that, someone would have said something like that. But then when you hear it again and people are like, oh my God, then they look at you and they're like, what are you going to do? It's almost like you're in a no-win situation. Honestly, I wish they would have walked off for real. Just to keep it all the way live with you, keeping it G. But they chose not to do that. I don't look at those brothers any differently. I would just say that I would not have that much patience, that much calm. I'm sorry?
Grace?
No. Dr. Vibe, you're like, my grace is out. I don't know. You know what? You're like, that if anything, like, listen, I'm glad they didn't say anything like, oh, well, we know he didn't mean it. Like, nah, that would have been corny. I'm just glad that they didn't apologize or accept any kind of apology for it or make excuses for it, like a lot of other people have been doing, which is sad.
Then how does this incident fit into a longer pattern of public humiliation of Black people in entertainment and sports?
Well, I mean, this is just another example of just like, if you take a look at, you mentioned sports, right? So I don't know if you know who Russell Westbrook is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He played at UCLA. I'm a college basketball. I go back to his UCLA days.
All right. Sorry about that, Dr.
No, it's okay. It's all good. You asked. I wanted to show my stuff. Go ahead.
Russell Westbrook to me is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He is constantly harassed when he is playing basketball. Fans say nasty stuff to him, racist stuff, especially when he's playing in places like Utah. There recently a fan wrote to his wife. So when Black people, when we are victims of this kind of behavior, we're always expected to show grace, to show dignity, be classy about it, right? And instead of doing what we truly feel. And some people are like, well, it's just words. It's not just words. The N-word is never just a word, because that word always preceded violence, right? That word is used to hurt you. There's no other reason for someone to use that word, right? So you talk about public humiliation. Well, when these things happen, Dr. Bob, it's always on where, you know, we're never so much worried about the person saying it, right? Because I mean, you remember years ago when Mel Gibson was caught on audio recording talking to the woman, talked to his former lover, saying she was going to get raped by a pack of N-words. You know, it's one of those things where it's like people are waiting for Black people's response, and there was very little response from black folks, right? And it's been fascinating to really view race between Black Britons and Black Americans, right? And I've just been like, I'm a little disappointed in that there has not been that big of an uproar when it comes to celebrities over across the pond versus, like, you know, Jamie Foxx jumped out there, said something, you know, Van Lathan, he was on his podcast, he said something. And it's like, I don't know, like you like, you know, this is, I mean, obviously, you know, this is something that has been happening over and over and over and over, but just, we can't let stuff like this slide ever. Like, this is a no-go. You know, you just can't.
Let me put it out there and see your thoughts on this. How do we hold space for disability like Tourette syndrome without minimizing the harm of a racial slur?
So in the piece that I wrote, Grin and Bear It, I said I don't have any compassion for him. And listen, I don't know John Davidson. You know, over in the UK, he's considered to be a hero, right? It seems that people grew up with this man, right? Like, you know, they've come to expect John to say these things. The reason why that I don't have compassion for him saying that and for just the backlash is because, for one, he waited so long to make an apology. And I don't know if this is true, but people from the UK have said that, well, therapists advise people with Tourette's to not apologize for their behavior. And I just think that's just I think that's, man. You like, so that's one thing. Secondly, there's always an excuse for why white people are racist or say racist things. You know, in the piece I talk about, oh, you know, he has schizophrenia, he has dementia, she's on medication, she's stressed, she grew up bullied, this is what she was taught. You know, I didn't grow up around Black people, it's what I heard. I mean, there's always an excuse. And so when there's an excuse, there's an implicit plea for compassion. Oh, well, you know, again, going back to what Dr. Curry said, you know, it's the ignorance of racism, right? So it's always like, well, you know, I didn't know. But again, like, Black people have been calling us N-words before I was born. So if this behavior has still been happening, it's not so much ignorance as this is just the way people are told to treat us. So I mean, I'm sorry, like, you know, having Tourette's is probably really, well, not really, like not probably, I'm sorry. Having Tourette's, I feel for someone that has a disability like that, right? But that doesn't wipe away the damage that was done. You know, and I'm sorry. I'm one of the minority. I don't care. Sorry.
What would a responsible, nuanced public statement look like that acknowledges both disability and the real violence of the N-word against Black people?
Well, this is what John Davidson should have said, and as well as the BAFTAs and the BBC. Listen, John Davidson has Tourette's, a special kind of Tourette's. This is what happened. He is prone to these tics, right? However, we also understand that the use of the N-word is brutal, it's harmful, it's based in hate, and many people have been terrorized by this word. So we want to say we are so sorry for any damage that we have caused and any pain that people are going through. Something like that. See, that's easy. I freestyled that. It doesn't take a lot, Dr. Bob.
Then what did you notice about how mainstream outlets framed this story? What was emphasized and what was downplayed?
Oh man, there was a brother. I'm not gonna say. I mean, there was a brother from the Guardian, and I don't want to sound like I'm attacking black folks because again, there's quite a few Black Brits that are like, look, he's foul. We need to not, be covering for this. It was racist. So shout out to all the Black Britons that are really on the program. but there was a brother, he wrote an article that he was talking about, like, yeah, I was there at the I was there at the BAFTAs, and when I heard it wasn't so much hate, it just felt awkward. And yes, that word has hate, but also he has these tics. So it was like he was trying to cover for him, and it was. And if you go online again, it's just people are just dug in, just defending this guy. And I'm just like, and the discourse now, Dr. Vibe, is that, Black Americans are anti-disability, we're ableist, and that, he didn't mean it. He can't help it. This is the reason why, we shouldn't be pressing him, and we're punching down on a disabled man. And I'm just like, there's no compassion for us. You know what I mean? Yo, like, I don't know, like, listen, I'm sorry, but just like, no, let's just knock it off. Like, I'm sorry, like, no, there's no there.
Yeah. So do you think the focus on, quote, BAFTA and BBC apologize, unquote, centers institutions more than the harm done to the Black people?
100%. We are an afterthought. See, again, John Davidson, he even asked, why was a microphone near me? Like, I'm trying to figure out, why would you have a mic? Like, look, you got to understand, the British media, we have tabloids here, right, in the States. But the tabloid culture over there is so wild. Like, it is incredibly disrespectful. I mean, just the racism over there is so normalized, right? Like Trump posting pictures of the Obamas as apes. That's not exactly normal in today's time. But in Britain, it'll be like, oh, that's what that publication does. Like, they're on another level. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Like, so again, like, there's too much focus being made on protecting Davidson. And again, he has a disability. I think it's very viable. I think it's very important to talk about that disability, but that doesn't, it should not wipe away the harm he's done.
So what do you feel this moment reveals about expectations of Black masculinity, especially the pressure to, quote, laugh it off, unquote, or stay composed?
Very good question. What this says is that you have to be able to brush this off, right? Because your reaction is going to be studied more than the impact that word has been thrown at you, right? I mean, I can't imagine what it is like to be called that, and then to essentially have your hands by your side. You know, like if you get mad at somebody, then, and if you raise a stink about it, then you are the angry Negro, right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of expectations for Black people to just brush it off. You know, I'm right now, Dr. Bob, I'm reading a book called Medical Apartheid. I believe it's by Harriet Washington. And, it talks about the history of racism in medicine. And Harriet Washington, Miss Washington, she's writing about slavery. And slaves were thought to be able to withstand more physical pain and withstand more mental anguish than their white counterparts. So I believe that has seeped into today's sort of discourse, right? So because Black people have endured despite racism, many people look at us and say, it's bad, but they can brush it off. Well, that's because we had to operate like that in order to get certain legislation passed, in order to get laws and rights. Like there were Black people who were so angry, but they couldn't show it. Again, going back to my friend Alicia and I's conversation, you have to have that negotiation. Which do I become angry right now, or do I just stow it? And when it comes to Black masculinity, as you asked, Dr. Bob, there's always been a fear of the black man being this hypersexual, hyper-violent being. So it was like they were just in a no-win situation, as I said earlier, because any type of anger or dissatisfaction that they would have shown, people would have magnified that 20 times. And the darker that you are, the more menacing you are. Those are not light complected brothers up there. Lindo's darker than I am. So it's just like they just couldn't do anything.
I want to know what your time is like, because I know we're coming to the top and we're coming up to about an hour. Do you have some more time?
I got about 5 or 6 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay, then so we'll get to, there were some things we're going to ask. I'll jump to some other thing, jump to some closing thoughts from you then.
Sure.
So let me just see here. Got a number of different conversation topics. Okay, let's look at this. So if you were advising BAFTA on concrete changes, what are the top 2 things they must do beyond a PR apology? Well,
first off, I would investigate how many Black people are actually working there, right? What is their staff like? What is their management like? Secondly, I would just simply look through how they've handled situations like this in the past. How many Black people do they nominate? You know how many Black people have received awards? Like a situation like this, Dr. Bob, that whole thing needs to just be rearranged. Like it can't go on the way it is now. You know what I mean? Like it's the BAFTAs. Like if I were a Black performer, I would never go there. I'd be like, nah, I'm good, because there was no respect, and Cummings' apology was just horrible. Like, I mean, that whole thing needs to just be scrubbed.
Okay. All right. Do you think that Black artists just should still seek validation from institutions like BAFTA and the Oscars, or build fully separate spaces?
I think we should build fully separate spaces. Listen, check it. So Halle Berry in 2001 is the only Black actress to win Best Female Actress. Think about it, one. And that was 25 years ago. She's only she's the only one to ever do it. As far as actors, Denzel Washington won it twice. Jamie Foxx, Sidney Poitier, Best Lead Actor. It's only 3 people. So what does that tell you, right? That tells you that you're not respected. Listen, when Do the Right Thing was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, wasn't nominated for Best Film, right? Driving Miss Daisy won that year. The Oscars, they tend to reward Black films that where the Black character is the magic Negro, or where it's a feel-good liberal white fantasy of Black and white people coming together, right? I remember when the Martin Luther King film directed by Anna DuVernay, right? That film, it was nominated for Best Picture, but I'll never forget this. One of the Academy voters, it's an older white woman, she said something to the effect of, does she want to talk about racism, or does she want to make a movie? Is she an activist? Something like that. So like they've told you like that your art does not matter. You know what I mean? Like even with the Grammys, listen, I'm not a Beyonce fan. I just never really got into her music like that. But there's no way that you can tell me that Taylor Swift beating her 4 times is accurate, that Harry Styles, that Adele winning twice, like that they're all that much better than Beyonce. Snoop Dogg's never won a Grammy. Real talk. Eminem has won Grammys. Billie Eilish, she cannot sing. She's won like record of the year, album, like song of the year, whatever. Like at some point, man, like I don't know what Black people need to do to realize that they're never gonna validate us. Samuel L. Jackson has never won an Oscar. Delroy Lindo has been grinding for a long time. I believe this is his first Oscar nomination. Come on, yo. Like, you know, it's like their ice is colder, right? So why are we looking for gratification towards a system that has never recognized how brilliant we are? I just like, we need to divorce ourselves from that.
All right, last conversation piece. So for viewers watching this show, what is one small but real action they can take the next time they see or hear racism in a, quote, polite, unquote, place?
Well, for one, Black people need to stop denying that that's what it was. Listen, I am very hypersensitive when it comes to race, right? And for some reason, so many of us want to say, oh, did he really mean it? Did she really say it? You like to have it come off like that? No, they did. They really did. Stop doubting yourself. That's what happened. Secondly, white people need to start calling this out in a very public, very loud, quick fashion. Yo, no, stop saying that. What you said was racist. Like, again, it was so wild. Like, just how little compassion it was for Jordan and Lindo online. Like, just, we did not have the right to be angry. And I was mad for a couple of days because, again, I felt so bad for them. And it was just the reaction. It was so bad. Like, just, people were just showing their Dr. Bob. And it just, yeah. So call it out, stop denying it. And finally, when someone tells you that that's their experience, and this is something that I still don't get. If someone tells you, yo, something racist happened to me, don't try to do the benefit, like, don't give someone the benefit of the doubt, or don't be it's something the devil, don't try to change their opinion about it. Don't try to give them another reason. No, like, that happened to you. Like, in your gut when something is racist happening. So if someone tells you that, don't be the person to try to change their mind, because we're not telling you that you did it. We're just telling you that this happened to us. Like, I don't understand why people do that. Like, I don't get it.
All right. I think that is a wrap. Mr. Barton, you did it again. You rocked the house.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bob. It is a pleasure to be on this show. Man, like, I really miss being on here.
Well,
man.
you can jump on, just reach out like you did a few days ago. We make room for you, brother. We make room for you.
Yo, I will be back next month. Yo,
okay.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We're here. We're here. So, as always, a pleasure. So, if people want to reach out to LeRon again, there's his website, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's in the comment section. Excuse me, on most of the platforms you're watching this live or on the replay. Just as we close down here, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I show up on, email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to find out more about me, easy. There's one link, toplink.cc/the drvibeshow.com. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. How we close it down hasn't changed since, well, it's changed a little bit since LeRon first on, but it's basically the same. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller but stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher and wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith, walk good, and great to see you again, LeRon. Keep the faith.
Peace.